Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tank review of the first of the new Yo tanks. Although this isn't, I don't know if you would really consider this one part. It was released with the Yo tanks, but it doesn't have the mechanic of getting detracked and still being able to move. But it starts at tier 6 and it's called the Pawlack. So this is a US tier 6, a brand new line or half line, I guess, in the US heavy tech tree. And it's a heavy tank branch for the United States. So this is the tier 6. It's the Pawlack. Quick look at the vehicle details here. Leon Pawlack introduced a vehicle that was built as a miniature with a cast hull. It had all kinds of plans. It wasn't built. There was no prototype. As you can see, it's a very interesting design in terms of the shape of it. We'll talk about how that affects the armor model on it, which it's one of these weird ones where the armor model doesn't look good, but it, in practice, actually turns out to be fairly decent. Kind of an interesting one right there. So we'll take a look at Tech Tree 3D model, a comparison amongst its peers, my stats, my setup, and a couple games with the Pawlack, which I am going to say is a pretty bog standard tier 6 heavy tank. It's got a couple little quirks to it, a couple things that make it interesting. I'm not going to tell you it's at the top of the list, but it's certainly not down at the bottom of the list. So let's take a look at the tech tree considerations. Okay, in the tech tree, it branches off of the T1 Heavy, which has, oh, by the way, 6 crew members. And the Pawlacks are going to go down, the Yo tanks, started by the Pawlack, are going to go down to 4 crew members. The radio operator will be on the commander for these. And if you own the premium tank, I think it's the M4Y, it has the same crew setup as all of these tanks, unless this one's a 3. Nope, I was wondering if that oscillating turret went down to 3 crew members, but it does not. You can see I've gone up to the tier 8 as of right now, and we'll get a review out on the tier 7 quickly. But that's really all there is to say about it. On these, I actually unlocked all of the modules. I did not play them stock, and then I ground my way from full modules to the next tank just to get a general idea. I'll let you know how many games that took. It wasn't too many. But if we click on this just really quickly, you can see that there's only one thing to upgrade on the tracks, engine, and radio. You are going to go through at least one, looks like 2 guns and 1 turret right here. I have the 90mm. Highly recommend. That's probably the best, clearly the best gun. This is not a tank that has 2 guns that are useful. We'll get into that a little while later. There's actually kind of some interesting ideas on some of the tanks after this one where you might actually have a viable smaller gun, but I would not do that with the Pawlack. You really want to get through to the 90, then you're going to move yourself on to the M2Y there. All right, let's take a look at the 3D model. Here she is in all her glory. Like I said, it's a weird shape. You've got this kind of tower area built up off of the hull that the turret sits on. The turret is nice and small and flat, but of course we've got all the rest of this hitbox just kind of tucked up. It's like a weird superstructure on top of the hull right there. If you look at it head on, you go, well, okay, the turret looks decent. There is a Tuma on top, but then you just have this relatively thin flat plate area right here, right in the middle. And what's weird about it is as we rotate the tank, that same weak spot is just kind of right there, center mass on that turret pedestal thing that it's sitting on. And if you turn like that, it's always kind of a weak spot right through there. This top part of the hull is giving you some auto bounce angles. It's highly angled, but the lower part of the hull, the lower upper part, I don't know. It's got a weird angle. If you look at the side, it just kind of rolls off right there. It is not very strong. And of course, the taller tanks looking down are going to flat plate it. If you're looking up at it, yeah, you still have a lot of weak spot down here. So it's odd because that looks like a terrible armor profile, and I will tell you, as long as you're kind of moving and juking, it ended up working out for me as a decently armored heavy tank. Not amazing. I think the M6 actually is a little bit more usable, and there's also the deal where people are brand new to the tanks and they're just learning how to take them on, so maybe in the near future this armor profile works less and less. That could very well be, but right now, early on, it seemed to work okay for heavy tank. It's not something I would say is reliable on. And while the turret is nice, the problem with it is it's so tall. There's very little terrain out there where you can go hold down in the Pawlack. Also, the depression is depressing. We'll get to that in just a minute, but the depression of the gun is not good. So even if you find a nice hold down back slope, you're not going to be able to use it very well. So in terms of the way the game is designed, maps and the terrain you fight in, it's going to be hard to hide this thing. You know, it's like the big pencil neck is always going to be sticking up and over all the rubble piles and things. So, and then with not enough depression, it's hard to use it on a ridge. So there you go. Not a great armor profile for the way the game is set up, but surprisingly effective on occasion. Situational armor, I guess, is the best we can say about that. Let's compare it amongst its peers. All right, comparison. I've got some of the usual suspects here. We got the M6, which is the other Tier 6 U.S. heavy tank. The German 3001P, which is a pretty good heavy tank. The T150, also good. ARL, surprisingly decent. Of course, nobody thinks the Churchill 7's good, but it's got its moments, I suppose. 240 Alpha on the gun is pretty standard across, other than the Churchill and the T150. So you're right. You're right in alignment with most tanks there with the 90mm type size guns. Average pen at 160 is good, but not amazing. You got the ARL at 44. Sorry, the ARL 44 at 212. Rate of fire is relatively low. So what we have here is, if we dump down real quick to the armor, 127 on the hull and 140 on the turret. We already showed you how that sort of works and sort of doesn't work. So the balancing factor here is, while it's running the 240 Alpha, if you line it up with the M6, which has less armor, it's coming out with a lot less average DPM. So it's a slower reload for the same pen and the same Alpha, because I am assuming it has more armor, which is sort of useful and sort of not. It was an interesting decision there by Wargaming. And there's that gun depression at -5. And folks, an American tank with -5, I'm trying hard to imagine that, but here we have one. Terrible. -5 is a detriment. -5 is the kind of depression that you can drive up on a pebble and not be able to get your gun onto somebody. The way the game maps are designed, the way the game is designed, there should be no tanks in this game with a -5 based on the way they've designed the maps, because it's pure misery trying to mess with it. That's a joke. I have no idea why they would have done that. It actually blows my mind. But there you have it. It's got -5. Now let's get to the dispersion, because the other balancing factor, not only does it have low DPM, what is it with Wargaming and low DPM tanks lately? I can't figure this out. Dispersion 0.4, that's atrocious, extremely bad. Now, I found in practice the gun to be okay. I'll talk about my setup when we get there, but it was a little bit derpy. You know, you got the M6 at 0.36, the 3001P at 0.36. The Churchill's very accurate at 0.35. So everything other than the T150 with the great big boomstick that's dropping 300, balancing factor there obviously, is way better than the Pawlack with a 0.4. So I found that to be another sort of interesting, I don't know, design balance decision. I didn't read it, but in the description it talked about having an electric drive and whatnot. That may have something to do with the turret being relatively fast at 36.5, so that's fairly comfortable. The older tanks, the lower tier tanks, tend to have slow turrets in the game. This one has a pretty fast one in terms of spinning and turning, so there you have it. Not a bad deal as far as that goes. Armor we talked about. Now let's go down to mobility, where it actually is fairly zippy at a top speed of 45. So that's up there near the top, or tied for number one with the 3001P. And very good specific power. So we'll get up and going and get to its 45 kilometer top speed pretty well. Here's a weird one. The reverse is 14. Okay. Top end class, right? That's good. That's good. It helps you get back into cover after you take shots. You're going to need that, because you've got that great big weird neck that you're trying to hide from everybody penning every time you poke out and try to take a shot, because your nugget's way up on top of the neck and you can't hide your neck. So you're going to need that 14. Traverse is fast, quite a bit faster than the rest of them. So as far as being kind of a sprightly tank, even though it is relatively long, which does affect it a little bit in terms of maneuverability in the game, it is fairly fast, fairly maneuverable for a heavy. So it will get you around at tier 6, no problem. Concealment is what it is for a heavy tank. And it's looking at it blocked a little bit here, but 360 on the view range is actually in line with most of these and near the top. The German tank's at 370, but you've got this T150 down at 330. So view range is not the forte of tier 6 heavy tanks. So what do we have here? We have a tank that compares favorably. Gets a little bit of a punch in the gut on DPM and accuracy. supposedly probably counterbalanced by a bit of mobility and some armor, which that's a kind of questionable one right there, to be quite honest, in terms of the armor. But like I said, in practice, the armor turned out okay for me. We'll take a look at that in my stats next. All right, I said I'd tell you how many games it took me to unlock the next tank. It took me 15. Remember, that's from all the modules being unlocked by free experience. So I did use free experience for the modules, and then played the tank 15 times, got a 60% win rate, over 1,000 XP per battle, which is pretty good. That speaks to a 60% win rate and a small sample size, so let's not get too crazy. 66% on the hits, so I did have to be a little bit careful, but that's a little bit low. I'd really love that to be at 70. It speaks to the 0.4 dispersion that it starts with. Damage ratio and destruction ratio, both over 1. In fact, destruction way up there at 2.89. Look at that armor use, 0.61. A little bit surprising, to be honest. A little bit surprising. So, could be a couple things there. Could be people unfamiliar with the armor layout. It does have some thick armor, so lower tier and similar tier not pressing 2 might have trouble anyway. Couple things going on there, but I found that's interesting. Whether that holds out or not is to be seen, but it's something that bears watching and go, okay, that's decent situational armor once you get above 0.5 right there. My damage per game is at 1398, which is high for tier 6 heavy tanks. So that's actually doing pretty well. Low sample size. I would kind of expect that maybe to dampen out a little bit. I will end up playing this to 100 battles, so we'll find out if we stay there. But if I compare it to my other tier 6s, it's definitely in the high regime. So all my good tanks where I'm doing a lot of damage, doing above 60% win rate in the heavies at tier 6 are here or slightly below this. I think I had 1 or 2 that were above it. 465 in assistance, pretty good. So overall, not bad, not bad. Let's take a look at my setup. All right, here she is. Now first, and the crew is showing red because they're actually moved on to the M3Y, the tier 8. But as you can see, they're good. 4 skills working on their 5th. Those are crew members from this very last Christmas. I put them in the M4Y, which was one of the gifts in the boxes. Gifts? I don't know. You bought it, I guess. One of the tanks in the loot boxes there. So I worked them up pretty well, added a bunch of training manuals to them, and so that's a good crew. So I had a good crew. Otherwise, I didn't go too far try-hard. I used hardening in the bonus slot. I used vents, and I used a rammer. So I didn't even worry too much about taming much of the gun. Dropped a rammer, vents, and some hardening. I had 2 kits, large and an automatic fire extinguisher. Didn't use food. Only carried 10 APCR rounds, and I found that all to be very decent for just a good all-round, anyone could play it this way type of setup. And there you have it. Now, obviously, you could go try hard. There's a lot of other things these days you can use over here, but I like the hardening because of the armor supposedly was supposed to be pretty decently, so I chucked that on there. The vents are going to help out all around, and we'll get a little more DPM. Although, unfortunately, because this crew is showing is not trained, I'm getting some negatives over here, so that's not really showing you what those numbers would have been. But overall, that was a good all-rounder kind of setup for that tank in the 15 battles that I did in it. Now I've got a couple examples of gameplay, and then we'll give you a wrap-up. All right, first example, we're on Studzianski, and we're just going to go ahead and push on in here. Like I said, the mobility is actually pretty good. To some extent, I ran it a lot like kind of a Heavium, with even better armor than you would expect out of most Heaviums, to be quite honest. So we're bottom tier, but we're only 1 tier down. We'll come up over here. The -5 gun depression, I'm going to have to fight against that. There's a spot right here where you can get tanks with poor gun depression into the fight. Unfortunately, I hit the building there. There are 2 artillery in this game. The artillery did have a good time with this tank, like most M44s/GWs will have at this tier. This is the tier at which artillery is still a problem in this game. It's the only tier at which it's really a big issue. Significant issue that happens a lot, I guess. It can still be a significant issue at other tiers. If you get slapped by one, it's a bit of a bummer. But at this tier, there's still a lot of people playing M44s and GWs and stuff like that. So we're going to hang out here for a little bit, see if they'll forget me, because I just know the Artie's going to start thumping me as soon as I start poking here more than a couple times. The M2Y's taking a look, so I know he's probably getting lit. I'll try to sneak a shot into the back of one of these dudes if they back out. There we go. So we get a shot on him. And more than likely I'm going to start getting some attention from the Arty. First, the attention of the HE firing 2801. There's the Arty. Now they're starting to fire over here. You know, once you get an M44 or GW, one of these faster firing artilleries, kind of paying attention to a spot like this, they're going to glom on and stare at it and keep shooting like the Mongos that they are. So you can expect shots just to keep coming in. So we're going to hang out here for a bit. What I wanted to show here is that it does have decent mobility. There we go. There he is. There he is. Yep. Anyway, this is a review of the Pawlak, not my opinion of artillery. So we're going to back out of this a little bit. We get a couple hits in there, and things are looking good, right? We've got them 4-1. Should not be a problem here. Our T-29 is an albatross tied around our neck. Nothing to be done for this guy. I'm going to run over there and try to help him in a minute, just to show you a bit of the mobility of this thing. And it's going to go poorly for me. T-150 moves in. You're going to find this on this map. This is looking like we're in really good shape, and we are. Unfortunately, everyone over here is just getting really impatient, and they want to tuck up against the church, and they want to try to figure a way to kill this guy. Unfortunately, there's all these dudes back here camping, to include the T-28 HTC, which will put a certain hurt on you at this tier. And then, of course, whatever they have over here in the whatever this is, factory, is going to be able to shoot right down south and shred you. And unfortunately, some people don't learn very fast, and they just sort of let it happen. The T-150 is in big trouble. There we go. We put a shot on that guy, liberally dousing them with number 2. At least our artillery is working to put some shots in there. There goes the T-50-2. I thought this might break it open, but they had enough campers back here, and then he dies pretty quickly, unfortunately. And we're not able to take any big advantage of this. There he is. There's my buddy. M44. Yeah, but Guido, it's your own fault for staying in the same spot. I know. I know. The only spot useful for trying to push over here. Yeah. Dang me for going to that spot. Alright. We're looking at the T-29. I'm kind of looking at that going, man, I really wish these guys would do something. As of right now, the T-29 hasn't really seen anything. So I'm wondering why he hasn't got on his horse and tried to figure things out. He hasn't lit anybody. He hasn't done anything. Come to find out, he's hiding in this corner over here by the factory. I think he's sniping across as well, potentially. And then we find the Black Prince, and that's like, all right, that's where that guy went. So they're big, bad, heavy, other than the M2Y and the T-29, which we've both seen and are over here with us, is hanging out in the factory. Now, I see a Black Prince and a T-29, and I start thinking lunch is served. But not this guy. Not this guy. Here's where the depression on this thing is depressing. Places like this where it's very difficult to get any shots on anybody. You know, a T-29 or something would come up here and go hold down and be able to kind of peek over this little ridge and start thumping people. This thing has to get all the way up and over and expose itself. All of a sudden I start to think these guys might be wanting to make a push over here. Our M2Y is continuing to get thumped by the artillery. Look at them, they're just both just all Mongo smash, just shooting into the same spot there. Our artillery is returning the favor and killing their poor guys trying to hide from them. Where our M12 is, though, is kind of clever, provided nobody pushes in. He actually has a great angle from there. I don't think I've ever seen an artillery push in there, especially not an M12. That's pretty good, you know? I mean, you got to give him props on that, right? You got to give the Arty player props. That is quite the angle, and he is just cranking up some damage on these guys from that angle. And you can see that things are going a little bit south for us. Obviously, I'm trying to figure out what the ins and outs of this tank are. It had a little bit of a hard time getting up and over on this. I'm wondering, all right, I don't know if this is going to help or do anything. Maybe I can peek around this corner and get a cheeky, sneaky shot. No, doesn't look like it. Down goes the Su-100. The T-28 HTC moved up. That got me a little nervous because it's starting to feel to me like they're realizing that they have beat us up over here. They know our T-29's in the middle. They probably know our CS-44 is in the north. They know the M2Y is down there, and I'm down here. Although we do have two M2Ys. So I'm feeling like pretty soon they're going to feel like they might have a bit of a push situation going on here. So that's why I'm sort of hanging out here for the moment. Keep checking 6. I'm like, what is this T-29 doing? Oh, yep, they do. They want to come at us. So we sneak a shot into him. 240 Alpha is nice, so I put a good hit on that guy. Thinking let's try to kill him off. That'll be good. There we go. So we get rid of him. Their M2Y is out in the open. I'm like, can I get up and over and kill him? Or can somebody kill him before he gets away? I really didn't want to poke. There's a T-29 and a Pawlack hanging out there. I'm thinking that M2Y will kill him. There we go. And they've got a Skoda T-25 who's now out in the open. So I'm going to cut left here and try to cover up a little bit and see if I can put a thump on this guy while he tries to run away. Nope, I'll just miss. So shoot. There's that .4. You know, you don't let it zoom in, you're kind of in trouble. All of a sudden there's a T-29 now starting to make his move. Very surprised the Skoda didn't disintegrate, but of course there's nobody left over here except for us and the two, or me and the two M2Is. There's that damn depression. Just so hard to use -5 in situations like this. I'm going to tuck up underneath here so maybe this T-29 can't hit me. Artillery is still pounding the poor M2Y behind me. Looking for a sneaky cheeky. He's a little bit in trouble, and now it looks like he's going to make a push. There we go. He's got the small gun. I eat a shot from the Pawlack, but it bounces. Looks like a small gun too, a 115, so he's running one of the stock guns. And we get rid of that guy. So okay, we even this thing up a little bit. Black Prince is pushing in on the T-29. Artillery is still lobbing into the ditch here. And I'm seeing the Black Prince in trouble in terms of 986. We've got a 1200 hit point T-29. Surely, quit calling me Shirley, we can both gang tackle this guy, right? So we'll come up here and see if we can find him. I don't know why I shot that. I know he's not on the other side of that wall. He's on the other side of the factory. I'm kind of watching this going, well, how is this not over? Why is this T-29 not destroying this Black Prince? We lost our M12. We get rid of the Pawlack, so things are looking okay now in the ditch here. And I take some time to type. And now our T-29 loses some hit points to the low alpha Black Prince, and somehow it doesn't manage to take any back, which I can't figure out. Well, once I saw stats, I figured it out exactly. So here we go. This is more like medium speed at tier 6. That's the nice thing about this tank. It can get around. He's he's just losing. I can't figure it out, man. He just holy macaroni. So I'm just going to come in here. I'm going to say surprise to the Black Prince. I mean, there we go. All right, 288. So here we at, right? We got me. We got the T-29 and a Black Prince. This is sorted, right? You think? Oh, that's not good. That's not good. I really needed that. And then I'm like, all right, T-29, make your move. T-29's not making a move. Fine, we'll go by him. Run away! All right, so we're not winning any speed competitions, but we are moving out pretty decently. Shoot that guy in the way. Screen not penetrate. Oh, there he is. He's just... there he is. That's, I'm not going to show any more of this. You get the picture. I just wanted to show you the mobility. I get a blind shot on the T-28, on the VK-2801. He's actually over there. I get one more blind shot in for 2,800 damage or something like that. In there, maybe even 2 shots. I don't remember. This dude sits there and dies. That's all you need to know about this. All right, one more example. All right, game in progress here on Sand River Dorf. Go up into the north. We've got a couple guys backing me up, and I'm feeling like let's just be aggressive in the old Pawlack, see what she can do. Try to surprise this ELC. Surprise! He didn't like that surprise. He tries to leave. He's making a runner. We'll auto-aim this guy. We'll unlock, because it was kind of tracking behind him. Give it a bit of a hasty shot, but it works out. And here's where that, again, that gun depression, look at that. You just can't get the stupid gun onto him. I got to kind of move around. And I don't really know what this guy's deal is, but he's just sitting there shooting. I can't come too high up this, otherwise I'm not going to get any enough depression. That tracked him, but didn't go into. I think I actually stubbornly try one more time. Yep. So what's going on there, guys, is yes, it's hitting the whole hitbox behind the track, but that's so well angled, it's going to the side. So I'm going to have a hard time getting damage and tracking him from here. So I need to shift my aim over if I want to just go for the kill, and he's low enough hit points. Doesn't matter though, because the other guy kills him. The Firefly VC fires really fast and has some very good pen. So I knew if he helped me and pushed with me, we would be able to gun these guys down. Lose my engine right there. I'm just going to go by this guy. Kill him off. And what usually happens when you win on here on Himmel's Sand Riverdorf, if you go up to the north and win like this, more than likely your goobers that have been camping on cap, the rest of your team probably, is going to start getting pushed by their tanks that didn't come up there. So kill what's up north, but don't push. I'm trying to get these guys to turn around. I think for a wonder the VC actually comes back, or maybe both. But just break for a tactics talk, fellas. Stop, please stop doing this. I don't know. I say this so much. It is such a broken record. You know, and there's always new players coming in, players who haven't learned this lesson. Although how after 20, 30,000 battles you can't, I don't really understand that, but I see the proof every day, so apparently it happens. Stop pushing to cap when you win a flank and your cap is in trouble, especially. This one is about as easy peasy situation example as you could ever want to have. We won up here handily. There's only 2 of them spotted. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 left. 2 spotted. That leaves 7. One's in artillery. There are 6 tanks. 6 that are probably somewhere on the stupid cap or very close to it. Let's say there's only 4. And they're all 100%, and the other 2 or 3 are pushing with these goobers down here. Let's say it's just 4. They're all hold down. They're in bushes. You're beat up. Look, 223. He's been hit. They're all half hit points, roughly, or less. I mean, this is so easy. It is the easiest thing you can do in this game to improve your win rate and your damage and every stat you have is stop pushing into camping, guys. Stop. All right. It's starting to become, what is it? A pleading situation. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the word for me. It's like now I'm begging people, right? It's not like, all right, let's have a little tactics talk here, and we'll talk about, you know, the best ways to win the game. And now I'm like, I'm begging you. I'm begging you. You are not Patton, dude. You did not just break through the German lines. You're not trying to beat Monty to Bastogne or wherever it was he was trying to beat him to. You're not. You're just going to walk into a buzzsaw and die. Okay, Patton? Just throttle back, my friend. Throttle all the way back. Turn the tank around and go back to your cap. And then beat up on the other guys, dudes, who are pushing into your campers. Amazing. All right. 1,000 damage, 492 assist. Again, like last game, and maybe even more so on this one. See how much room, how much distance I was able to eat up. Look, the leopard got killed, and the other 2 went, oh yeah, maybe that's not a good idea. So I don't know if that had anything to do with me saying, hey, come back, or whatever. I don't know. I can't find a freaking... Look at that, dude. I mean, unlucky for him. He got into my track or bounced or something, but that was a 700 hit point shot. That would have hurt a bunch. Sneak a shot on him, and now I got to tuck up. I'm a little bit worried about getting shot, and that's exactly what I was worried about, although that was an artillery. I was more worried about the guys up on this hill shooting me in the side. So I've made a bit of a mistake there in terms of exposure, so we're going to bail out and head off this way. Pretty quickly we'll be out of draw range. The Stug 3 took a poke at me, and I was able to bounce that. So that'll work, and we'll just come around this way. T1 Heavy and Firefly VC came back, so fantastic. We only lost one guy to their campers. And I mean, imagine that. A Cromwell B was sitting on their cap, friends. Cromwell B was sitting on their cap. I don't know. Maybe he reacted to us pushing through. Should have waited for the full zoom on that. He's getting thumped pretty hard. There he goes. Get a little bit of the assist out of that. We'll keep pushing up into here. I get myself into another bit of a jam here. That's very nice. That's a heat round that bounced, thank goodness. And then we've got this heavy medium, or this heavy tank right here. Did this used to be a medium? I don't remember. Bit of a bummer right here. I did not realize that there's an archway right there. It doesn't look like there is, but there is a way to shoot through there. So he just got a shot on me doing that. I'm going to have a hard time keeping all the different possible angles that guys might have shots on me. See, the KB1 is sitting up there. This guy's got me pinned down here. And there's that little opening there. We got a Panzer IV-H up there at KB1. I mean, I'm just in big trouble. And meanwhile, back at the ranch... there are two E25s. This is where E25s begin to live in their element. Mid to late game when they have hit points and they can rage around assassinating people. But those two are just going to sit there for a while. So we track him. We got decent angle right there. We'll just move out a bit. Oh, we fixed it. Okay. He was not interested in waiting for me to reload and track him again. People shooting at me from every direction. Looks like artillery bombing. Come out here and we'll take a shot at this KV-1. Dun, 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 dun. Got him. No, bounced. Alright. A little bit of assist. That's okay. So he can't shoot me. That's nice. This guy wants to shoot me, though. He's coming back out. Oh, that hurt. I don't really know where he found those hit points or that hitbox, but he did. He gets hit a couple times, but unfortunately the T1 Heavy goes down trying to make that happen. Their Cromwell B got on his horse. He's in behind us now. But the E25s are going to start making their presence known here pretty quickly. They finally sort of get things going. Guys are walking into their guns, which is what you want to avoid when you're trying to take on an E25. Try not to walk into E25 guns. This guy looks like he wants to change what he's doing. I know there's a Stug wandering around here too, so I thought about going around the corner trying to take this guy on, but I'm low hit points, and then all of a sudden the Stug, he's like, oh, hi. So we get a bounce from him. I'm just going to knock down the building a little bit. Maybe I can get a shot. No, here comes the other guy. Looks like the E25 is shredding Mr. Stug. No, BC got him. Oh, that stunk. Panzer IV-H. It's actually the 3001P that did the damage. I'm just trying to survive. I really feel like it's all over. I have no idea why I'm still in this game. But kind of the armor of this thing, right? That's what I was talking about. The armor just seemed to work out. It's one of these tanks with so many weird little angles based on the way the auto ricochets and things happen in this game. Sometimes these tanks with lots of weird structure can occasionally get strange high bounce games like this one, 1,930. Couple, obviously 700 of it's off of one shot, right? So we got lucky in that case. Couple 350 bounces off of the heat firing Panzer IV-H, and there you go. How did that heat only do 101? Not really sure what happened right there, to be honest. Anywho, oh, that was because it was a kill shot. That's all I had left to give. I gave my last full measure. 1,996 damage, 1,644 assists, and I think we end up winning with the 25s on this one right here. All right, let's wrap it up. All right, that's it for my review of the Tier 6 American Heavy Tank, the Pawlack, the first tank in the Yo Tank line. Does not have the special track mechanic that starts at Tier 7. It's got 4 crew members, which is the same setup through to the 10, which is nice. Comes off of the T1. Very strange looking tank. Kind of looks like a tank that you might draw while you were bored in, 6th grade. And you wanted to make a Sherman in a space tank version. I mean, that's kind of what it sort of looks like. I think this tank would look fine in Fallout. You know what I mean? I think in the Fallout series, if you ran across this tank, you would not be surprised. It looks like one of those space age, atomic age kind of things. Decent tank. I'm going to put it squarely in the middle of everything. Is it a keeper? For me, they're all keepers. Would I grind to it to get this tank to play it a lot in pubs? Probably not. Has a couple things going for it. Armor is surprisingly useful, even though it's weirdly shaped. That could change in the future when people get used to learning where to shoot it. So take that statement with a grain of salt. The gun is no great shakes. It kind of keeps it down just a little bit, and the DPM isn't great. But the mobility with the armor allows it to do some dynamic things at mid-tier, which if you're a good player is quite useful in terms of how this game is played. But that's probably the best thing that it has going for it. It's just that the gun will troll you. And there's other more accurate tier 6s. The 3001P, for example, I think just does a better job of heavy tanking, as does the M6. It's just that this thing's a little bit more mobile. That's all I've got, guys. Let me know what you think down below. Will you be keeping the Pawlack, or even are you just going to free XP past it? Normally, I like to play, well, not normally. For me, because of the content creator thing, I play all the tanks, and I do I do reviews, not previews, and I keep the tank. So that's standard for me. Would I do that necessarily if I wasn't a CC with this tank? Probably not. Probably not. But it was interesting, and it is fun to play the weird tanks. And I would definitely say this is one of the while it's not super weird, it's a little bit weird. And I did kind of enjoy playing the thing. All right, that's all I've got. Let me know what you think, like I said, and we will see ya.